Today I'm speaking with Kevin Maloney, the President of Tackling Leukaemia, a local charity. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
Could you tell us about Tackling Leukaemia? Tackling
Leukaemia, as you said, is a registered charity. We have been in operation since 2019, but became fully registered in 2021. We exist solely for the purpose of redressing the imbalance between the members of the Maori, Pacifica and First Nations cohort who are affected with leukaemia versus the small number on the Australian Bone Marrow Donor Registry. Members of that cohort, unfortunately, are overrepresented with the disease, but as I said, underrepresented on the Australian Bone Marrow Donor Registry. We do it by going out to essentially rugby clubs, telling the players about leukaemia and tackling leukaemia, encourage them to become potential donors, and they do that by simply swabbing their mouth. And we then send the swabs and the personal data off to the Australian Bone Marrow Donor Registry, where the pathology is done and the blood type, etc., is matched, and then they go on the registry, and they can then, if called upon, donate a stem cell anywhere in the world, not only Australia, to save the lives of members of the Maori, Pacifica and First Nations cohort. We do that as a full recruitment partner of the Australian Bone Marrow Donor Registry, and we're also a partner of the Cancer Australia plan through Cancer Australia.
That's fantastic work. And what motivated you to start Tackling Leukaemia?
In 2014, I was diagnosed with leukaemia. At that time, having been a first grade rugby referee and then senior referee coach in Victoria, the first thing I wanted to find out was A, how long I had left, and B, what were the alternatives. And the haematologist told me that I would need a stem cell transplant and explained what that was. And then the quest was to try and find a stem cell. I fortunately got a stem cell transplant, obviously because I'm still here, by a very generous donor. Whilst I was recovering after the chemo and the radiation and the stem cell infusion, we heard that a mate of mine, a guy named Peter Selby, former first grade rugby player from the Powerhouse Rugby Club, state representative and all the rest of it, he had leukaemia. And despite having 4 siblings and 2 sons, he couldn't get a match. Unfortunately, he died. Peter was part Maori, and that's when we found out the differences in HLA DNA with and blood types, and therefore the scarcity of stem cells, and particularly stem cell donors. The Powerhouse Rugby Club then decided to do something about it, and they asked me could I assist them in recruiting through the rugby connections, recruiting potential donors within that cohort, and that's why we exist.
Oh, that's a really wonderful personal story that you shared with us, so thank you for that generosity. And there's clearly a connection between sport and tackling leukaemia.
Absolutely.
Yeah, could you explain a little more about that?
Certainly. Apart from the cohort, which is our target group, we specifically target mostly men between 18 and 35 who are active, fit in sport. They make the best donors and their stem cells are more readily accepted. We do recruit some ladies as well. In fact, my stem cell donor was a lady over 40 that had had children, they are normally exclusions, but I got a match, fortunately, and it did. But we don't only concentrate on Maori, Pacifica and First Nations. We're at the clubs, obviously, there's many Caucasians as well, and they are more than happy to put their hands up, and that's what we do.
Yeah, terrific. And what's the response been from Pacifica, Maori and Indigenous communities?
It really has been fantastic. All we need to do is mention to some of the clubs what we're doing and explain, as I said, the overrepresentation with the disease but underrepresentation on the Bone Marrow Donor Registry, and how they can help not only their cohort here in Australia but back in their home countries and also all around the world. And strangely, a lot of Fijians and Samoans and Maoris are playing rugby in England, in Paris, in France I should say, in America, and all these guys would be eligible through the International Bone Marrow Donor Registry to receive stem cells if they are diagnosed. Now, I explained what we do going out to the clubs. When I say we're a grassroots organisation, that's exactly what I mean. We sit on the grass, on the rugby field with these guys, tell them what we do, and ask them will they consider becoming volunteers. And we have had a very, very good response. In fact, we have increased the number of that cohort on the Australian Bone Marrow Donor Registry by 10% year on year for the last 2 years. And we're again kicking some goals in 2023. One of the ways we do this is we host and sponsor a competition called the Tackling Leukaemia 10s rugby competition at the Box Hill Rugby Club. We did it last year and we've just done it again this year, and plans are in place to do it again next year. That one event had recruited 180 over the 2 years, 180 stem cell donors, and that's in addition to us going out to the clubs. That is really significant when the base on the Bone Marrow Donor Registry is only about 12 or 1,300 people.
Yeah, that's incredible work, really important. What is involved in becoming a bone marrow donor?
What we do when we go out to the club, we explain what leukaemia is,
yes,
and what they can do to become a stem cell donor. The process that the Bone Marrow Donor Registry has in place is really very, very simple. It starts when we explain who we are, what we are, and then get what's legally termed informed consent. And the guys then simply pull out their phones and photograph the QR code. And that's the QR code on the bottom here. That then takes them to the Strength to Give website, and they fill in their personal details and all the rest of it. And at the end of that, if all the details are correct, they get a green tick on their phone. They then go to the next stand where the green tick is examined, and they are given a small envelope with 3 swabs in it. Once they've got those and scan the barcode, because we then got a barcode, we then got a match between the personal data and the stem cell swabs. They then get a second tick. They then go and swab themselves. It's as simple as that. Three swabs, put them in the mouth, like that, hold them in their fingers. Once they're done, dry them off, put them back in the little envelope, seal it up, hand it to one of our guys. They then get the third tick, and then the swabs are then sent to the Australian Bone Marrow Donor Registry, and they're then sent to New York for processing. That's just a question of scale. They do them for all around the world, and they're on the Bone Marrow Donor Registry. It's as simple as that. Yeah,
so someone comes to an event and it's all just done on the spot there.
That's right.
With them.
That's exactly right.
And that's incredible. And obviously you've shared your own story, but what other stories are there? What would you like people to know about how bone marrow donors can really change lives?
Well, I don't want to be dramatic, but it simply is a case of life or death.
Yeah.
Yes, there are experimental drugs that can prolong some people's lives, but stem cells are the proven way of giving you your best chance to survive.
So it's clearly very important that we have as many people in that registry for different cohorts as possible.
Absolutely. Caucasians like me are lucky because the International Bone Marrow Donor Registry has a majority of Caucasians on it. Believe it or not, most of those come from Germany, because in Germany they have an opt-out clause on their licence. So in the event of any accident or death, the stem cells are harvested and they go straight on the registry. But for ethnic minorities, the converse is true. Underrepresented, particularly our own people, First Nations people.
Yeah.
And what compounds their situation is that they are in remote areas. Yes. And we'll be doing something about that shortly.
Well, it's a good lead into the next question I want to ask, which is what's next for Tackling Leukaemia?
What's next? Yeah. As I said, the 10s are on their way for for next year. We've also been invited to attend the celebration of the Samoan independence on Sunday of King's birthday weekend. We have made contact with the rugby headquarters in New South Wales and New South Wales Country, Queensland Country, Northern Territory, Western Australia and South Australia. We've been invited to the New South Wales Country Championships, and that's at the end of June in Tamworth, and also the Queensland Country Championships in Rockhampton, also on King's birthday weekend. That might be a little bit difficult. The Northern Territory rugby season is opposite to ours. Theirs runs September to April, so that'll fit in. And the Western Australian one Western Australian Country Championship is currently on at the moment, and that has teams stretching from Geraldton in the north to Bunbury in the south and east to Kalgoorlie. So there's plenty of people to be represented there. We've also been making headways into other sports, particularly Aussie rules and netball. And we have those business names registered, and we're speaking with those people now.
Well, that's terrific. And if people want to support the work that you do, how could they go about doing that?
They can register to become donors. That's the first and foremost. They can do that by just simply going online to either the Bone Marrow Donor Registry or the Strength to Give webpage, and registering. It is a very simple process, and they'll then send you the kits. You swab yourself, send it back to them. They're processed, and you go on the register. If they do that, as I've shown on the slide, if they put the word tackling when it's prompted, they'll know that it has come from us.
Right.
So, yes, by volunteering is one. By volunteering to become a stem cell donor is one thing. We're searching for some volunteers because obviously it's fairly manpower intensive.
Yes.
And being volunteers, all of our committee is volunteers. We don't have the money to pay anybody. We exist on the smell of an oily rag, plus some support of some quite generous sponsors in terms of helping us with our business. But the business is expensive. With any charity, you've got your registration, your business registration, insurance, administrative costs such as web page hosting and social media, and as well as operational costs. And that generally comes in about $15,000 a year. And we get no funding, no government funding, whatever. So that, then leading back to your question, they can petition the state and federal government to recognise what we do and try and give us some money.
Well, no, I'm certainly a supporter of the work that you do. And is there anything that you want people to know that we haven't covered yet about the work that Tackling Leukaemia does?
A person in Australia is afflicted with leukaemia about every 20 minutes. 3 out of 5 of them die. It's fairly tragic. We're doing something about it with a small section of the community. That action could be replicated everywhere in the community. And if there's a call for arms, that's what I'd ask people to do, because it's much better than the alternative.
Oh, absolutely. And Kevin, thank you so much for the work that you do, the work that Tackling Leukaemia does. I think you've outlined really very powerfully the importance of ensuring that there are more people on that bone marrow donor register. And I hope that people listening will search out Tackling Leukaemia and become donors. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you for all of your support.